I believe that Mr. Yin's talk would be beneficial and informative. Mr. Yin is an inspiring scientist who's also Swinburne alumni. He's the founder of a community gardening startup. So his experience and passion for conservation and environmental awareness has led him to volunteer in multiple projects such as Kuching Beach Cleaners, Sarawak Eco Warriors, Wildlife Conservation Society. And for your information, he's also one of the few Malaysians who was selected for the prestigious fellowship program in 2019, where he traveled across the US for 6 weeks to learn about the sustainable development and organic farming. So tonight, Mr. Yan will be talking about how and why he started the community gardening startup. So without further ado, Mr. Yan, the spot is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ali Khan, for the great intro. And hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight? So first of all, I'm going to try to share my screen first. Hopefully it works. Let's see.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, hold on. All right. Can everybody see? All right. Is this big enough?
Yeah, sure. It works. It's very well.
All right. So once again, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us in me sharing some stuff I learned from the US, and hopefully it will help you guys with your own startups, because based on my understanding, all of you Hult Prize Challengers are supposed to do your own thing after this. So I'm just going to show my way of doing things. I'm not saying it's the right way, but I'm just going to share like the things I went through, hopefully, so you hopefully have some more experience and wisdom to go through your own without as much problems as I did. So without further ado, I'm gonna come to my slides. The topic of my talk is growing a community, and my slogan that I like to share around is we try to make agriculture culture, So moving on. And once again, I'm Ian Chin. I'm from Malaysia, born and bred in Sarawak, Kuching. And yeah, that's me. That's in me in Belaga. As mentioned by Ali Khan just now, yeah, I'm one of 3 Malaysians who traveled to the US for this Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, Professional Fellows for Spring 2019, where about 24 Southeast Asians, including myself, were selected based on a project basis to go to the US and to be under a host community and to learn from each other, share with each other, all trying to learn more about sustainable development and environment. So me and this guy from Laos, he's a fellow of mine. Oh, now let me turn on my laser pointer. Yeah, that's me over here, if you can see me. And this guy is Tom. Both of us were lucky enough to be paired with Omaha Permaculture, which is a non-governmental organization based in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm not sure, but I'm sure none of you know where Nebraska is. I mean, I would ask you right now and you wouldn't even know, but it's okay. It's right in the middle of the US. You picture the US is right in the middle. This is they call it downtown. This is downtown. And yeah, we met with the team of Omaha Permaculture, which is everyone over here. They're super great. We stayed there for 4 weeks, and we shared our culture. They shared their knowledge, and generally we just had a great time. It was really a fun time before all this COVID-19 nonsense, if you know what I mean. Much simpler times. While over there, this is Gus von Rowan. He is the president. No, he's not. He's the founder of Omaha Permaculture, the one that started it all. It wasn't all fun and games. We were there to learn. We were there to work. So as you can see, I was there in my boots, in my farm pants, so call it. We went down to the ground. We did some actual physical work, actual some farming. Also, we learned some theories and agricultural textbook lessons from Gus, and we shadowed him every day. Literally, we went there, we learned all we could, and of course, we also joined some university lectures with Mr. Graham Herbst here. He's a really cool guy. Point him to any tree in the US, and he can tell you what tree that is, how long it will live, how long it will develop. He's just a really good guy overall. So moving forward, Omaha Permaculture's mission is quite simple. They foster community through sustainable land stewardship. That's their favorite motto. And behind that is that you can read all of that, but basically they're focused on modeling permaculture practices in urban environments. So I was there to learn how to do agriculture, especially permaculture method. That's like organic farming in an urban environment. That's what they do. That's what I learned. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So that's all you need to know for now. And one thing they do really well is community gardening, or urban farming, or community gardening is almost the same thing. It's community gardening in an urban setting, in an urban lot. So basically, just a rough breakdown. Omaha Permaculture, they take like all these empty lots, as you can see here. It might look like it's in the rural village or something, but actually this is only like a few minutes from town. It's actually very close in the suburban area. They take all these empty pieces of land. They invite the community to come over to plant, to learn to plant, and then we, as you know, they call us interns, but we are fellows, and we go over there, we help them, we teach, and at the same time we learn. And one more thing they're really good at is community programs. They do this a lot because in their model, the community is number one. Well, close second to agriculture, but you know what I mean. They take like old community centers, like this old train station. It's not a train station, train stop, and then they refurbish it, they renovate it, and they turn it into another community garden. At the same time, they invite the community to come over and build picnic tables. We'll talk about why picnic tables are so important later. And of course, it doesn't matter what walks of life you are, what race, what gender, it doesn't really matter. Omaha Permaculture, they even have free entry programs and inclusivity programs where they invite these communities, or rich or poor communities, to come over and help out with their community gardening. And then whatever these guys do, they bring back. You know, it's really cool. So before I go any further, I mean, you don't have to tell me. You keep in your heart. You ask yourself, which one of these settings or situations is better? Nice, cut, clean lawn, or overgrown patch of land? You consider that. You don't tell me. You consider that. You keep in your heart. I'll get back to this one in a bit later. So now we'll talk a bit more about the benefits of community gardening or urban farming. But before we get there, does any of you know what the broken window theory is? Well, if you do, it's cool. But for the rest of the people who does not know, let's take a look at these two pictures. Over on the left, you have a somewhat rundown setting with some graffiti you can see, but it's nicely trimmed. There's the grass is trimmed, and there's a picnic table in the middle. A picnic table that sits is nice and clean. And on the right, you see a really rundown lot, right? It's overgrown, it's full of trash. So which one of these is more likely to stay that way and to be worse? I'm sure most of you will be saying like to the right, but you don't know why, because of the broken window theory. Basically, the broken window theory is a criminological theory that states that visible signs of crime, antisocial behavior, and civil disorder create an urban environment that encourages further crime and disorder, including serious crimes. Basically, if you see a house or a rundown house with a broken window, you're more likely to not care, like for let's say a ruffian or a delinquent. They say, hey dude, that window is broken. What's stopping them from throwing another brick in that window? Or they're more likely to go in and do some crimes. I don't know what kids do these days, but just the bad stuff. What if you fix that window? That window looks nice, and the house is all fixed up a bit, it is less likely that it will be vandalized again, because it shows that there's somebody taking care of it, and there's someone responsible for it. That's what broken window theory is. If the lot is nice and kept, and then the picnic table's right in the middle over there, it's less likely that more people will come over to, graffiti it. Well, on this one, someone's probably just gonna throw more furniture in there. You know what I mean? So, moving on, you've been hearing the word permaculture, being thrown out left and right, up and center, all across the board. This is permaculture. I mean, I would let you guys read this. You can read this if you want, but I'm just not gonna let you bother. It's a bit too long. I've taken the liberty to summarize it to around four short words. First one is what permaculture does in an agricultural sense. Instead of doing all these normal agricultural practices like tilling and flipping the soil, instead permaculture promotes observing and understanding the land that you're about to develop, to grow. Like if you see, instead of turning the land to what you want, you do what the land needs. Like if you see the land is barren, it's not growing anything, it's been a while and still like that, that means it lacks humus. All right. And if you see that it's just grass, it's not growing, that means it's lacking some sort of nutrients, lacking nitrogen. You grow things to partner that thing up. You look at the land, you kind of know what it needs. So that's basically what I'm trying to learn. I mean, I learned a bit, but I'm not perfect. Secondly, in the principle of permaculture, it's always important to keep the soil alive. We treat the soil like it's a living thing. Never let it stay under the sun, because would you like to be under the sun the whole time, like naked? Of course not. You get sunburn. So what permaculture does is we always make sure something's growing on that soil, because that soil, in it you have nutrients, yes, but also in there you have mycorrhizal fungi, there are small microbes in there, bacteria. That's all very essential to a healthy agricultural system, right? So we always keep things growing to keep the cycle moving. That's the second point. The third point is to always store energy, like not electrical energy per se, but energy in the form of nutrients, macronutrients, all these things that plant need. We try not to add too much more to it. We always make it a way to always, so the soil has plenty of nutrients at all times. And of course, the last one and the most common thing to hear, we always do it naturally, to use natural methods. No pesticides, no insecticides, no herbicides, nothing, no artificial fertilizers, all natural. And that's what permaculture is trying to promote, in my own words. You could read those slides just now. You can ask it for me, fine. But yeah, that's it. Now, finally, we get to a bit of the benefits. Why do we want to do community gardening? Why do I want to promote it so much? Because number one, I think it really improves aesthetics. Like, who likes an empty lot that might probably become another furniture dump? Like, it's so common to see them. To see all these lots, maybe at MJC, or I don't know, even if closer to home, behind some certain malls, there's empty lots, and then people just throw that stuff there. Why not just grow something to improve what it looks like, right? And that brings us to our second point, which is to reduce vandalism, which is following the broken window theory. Yes, it will. At the same time, it creates a working ecosystem in that area. It contributes to the environment, because if you have a working ecosystem, you're producing oxygen, you're keeping carbon dioxide in the soil, which generally improves the ecosystem. Better than a lawn does, by the way. So the fourth point is more to a more human factor, is that it increases food stocks with better nutritional content, because you are the one who planted it. You are the one who knows what goes into the soil. So it's high quality stuff. So you get more food, and you know that it's more nutritious because you are the one who did it, right? And lastly, in a more communal sense, if you have a community garden in an urban lot, it builds tighter communities. Like if you and your neighbor or neighbors, your whole community, you come together, you work together, you have a more tighter relationship. At the same time, you build a better, tighter community. Which brings us back to this picture. Which one is better? In my opinion, both is exactly the same. If there's anything, unbalanced, is you're paying more or you're using more energy to keep this short. And sometimes you'll be like, hey, Ian, at least that one looks nicer. But yeah, dude, is it worth spending that much money to keep it short? Why don't you just spend a bit more energy and money just to make a community garden? I mean, you don't have to look like this. I'm just trying to say that both of them is exactly the same function. It does not benefit the environment. Yes, it might look nicer, but it's a lot more hassle than you think. So why not just turn that into this? Working garden. Yeah, I think it looks half decent, and you can just eat anything from this. And you know what, you grew it. It's healthy, and you feel better, honestly. And this is actually a wonderful diagram by another fellow from YC. He's a good friend of mine from the Philippines, actually Dr. Gamin Lewis, Carras Apostle. His research, his work is around public health, and to him, it is a cycle. Public health is a cycle. That's why he calls it One Health. If there is healthy people, there is a healthy planet, there is healthy animals. If there's a healthy planet, there's healthy animals, healthy people. It's all a cycle. You can't have one component that is lacking, because if one lacks, the rest will lack. That is his theory, and I think it's pretty cool. And community gardening or urban farming will drop under a healthy planet. If you have a healthy planet, you get healthy food. You get healthy food, you get healthy people, and you get healthy people, you get healthy animals, and then the animals will be in a healthy planet. It's a whole cycle, and it's pretty cool. So now it's the more relevant part. We're going to talk about the plan, the initial plan of how we did it, how I did it, how we did it, and these steps may help you in your own startup. Like I said, it's not the best way. It's just it's us way. It's not the best way, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes as I did, and hopefully it'll help you out on your own. The initial plan was to, the easy way to say it, get land, transform the land, share the crops with the nearby communities. Hopefully we promote a healthy farming community. That's the initial plan. Then comes the real plan after that, the actual community gardening. So for every project, it's always important to get a team. And I am blessed in a way that I'm already part of a great team. I am part of the Kuching Beach Cleaners and the Sarawak Eco Warriors. And without them, none of these projects will ever be successful, because they're a young, exciting, enthusiastic team. So I already have that step for me. If you want to do your own startup, I suggest you also get a team like that. All right? You understand what I mean? So settle your team first. I already have one. Good for me. Get your own. So moving on, you need a set of rules. For me, sorry. I have a set of rules that it's like a constitution, fixed rules that we try not to diverge from as much as we can. I call this a model. There might be a better word for it, but I like to call it a model or a principle. My model is the rule that I will try not to diverge. So my first rule is to always teach urban farming or agriculture using the principles of permaculture or organic farming. So that's the first rule that I must do. The second rule is all crops planted by the participants or volunteers are of their property, is free to use however they want. So whatever they plant in my garden or wherever is theirs, I don't own it. You can do whatever you want with it. And lastly, my model is to eventually elect a community champion and to surrender the running of the garden to him or her. I mean, in the end, it's never my garden, you know. It's your garden, it's your farm. So in the end, I would like to give back that responsibility to you so that this thing can be more sustainable. I mean, I just plan to start it, but in the end, I want someone to champion it, to actually run it by themselves, to give them a sense of responsibility, to give them a sense of accountability. So these are my 3 rules in starting any garden. Next is a very touchy topic, but in every project you're going to need money, you need funding, right? And for us personally, most of our money comes from merchandise sales and donations from kind individuals. God bless them. Because, like I said, none of the produce are supposed to go to us. So this is what we depend on, right? Merchandise and donations. We sell T-shirts. If you're interested to get one, let me know. Well, I mean, other than that, of course, we do have some kind grants and sponsors here and there. We had money from these guys from Sweden, and of course from Wisely themselves, who were kind enough to give us some money. And we're in the process of applying for this one as well. Fingers crossed. So one more option you can get funding for your own startup is by applying for grants, applying for fundings from other organizations. All right. So once we got that handle, we moved on to land acquisition, which is one of the hardest things that we ever do. It took us a long time, but basically what we did is we just picked. I just drive around. I mean, I drive around a lot. So I saw a piece of land that I like. I use one of these 3 methods. So if your startup has, a need to acquire land, it's not so easy, but we use one of 3 ways to do it. The first way is to submit proposals. Now, this one is for the more official kind of people. They like us to see our proposals, etc., etc. Make sure you know how to get that done, and make sure you have one in mind if you want to have some land acquisition done. The second thing I personally did was the good old-fashioned verbal agreement and verbal discussions. Like sit down with the nice guy, have a good talk, and use your powers of negotiation. Use that silver tongue of yours. I'm sure most of you have that talent. You just don't really use it. It's still my favorite method. I pretty much prefer the second method over those 3, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. And the last one, of course, is to use the third point over there, memorandum of understanding. Or short MOU. This one's usually to seal the deal. It's just a list of things that we agreed to do. It's a list of things that the other party has to do, and if you don't do it, these things happen. This is basically what an MOU is. You can Google it, see how it does. It's all very semantics-ish, but whatever. It is in the process. So if you if your project or your startup involves land acquisition, these 3 might help you out a bit. Next thing I would like to go on is, in your team, no matter how good your team is, there are bound to be gaps and holes where your expertise ends. You know what I mean? So it's always essential to think about future collaborations and partnerships if you want to do projects. There are things that your team doesn't know, and it's fine. Nobody knows everything. So there's somebody out there that's bound to know. So for us personally, we sought out and collaborated with some agroforestry gurus. This guy is a really cool dude. We sought out advice from agricultural and organic farming people in Kuching. And of course, every garden project, there's a bit of what do you call that, landscaping, renovation. So we got in touch with some landscaping or some surveyors to help map out our land, to see what are options to draw out all these plans that we need for any land. So I got this guy to do it for me, and yeah, to see, I mean, it's a give or take. They do something for me, I do something for them. That's how we do it. And of course, we also collabed with the Dyslexia Association of Sarawak, where in exchange for letting us use their land, we teach their students for extracurricular activities to teach them how to do organic farming, to give them a new set of skills, you know. So it's always smart to think about future collaborations and partnerships when there's some things that you aren't quite capable of doing. And of course, never to forget, there's always Trusty Gus to help out, help me out when there's any roadblocks, because I mean he's the Omaha permaculture guy. If I run into any roadblocks, I go to him. He always has an answer. God bless you guys. So yeah, it's always good to seek out help. Next part is the actual hard part. After all that planning is done, you got all these documents done, you got all the land you need, this designing and executing. So this little map here, I mean, the surveyor didn't do this. It was done by one of our club members. I think she did a great job, actually. She pictured the land really well. It might look really simple, but it took us quite a while to do this. So the challenge is trying to get this, to turn this into reality, and this is where we are at now. So when we were at this stage, and when you're doing it yourselves, there's bound to be these two issues that we ran into. So first one is, of course, manpower management. All right. So it's a struggle to always find people to run the things, because we're all busy people. You can't do it yourself. And then, yeah, it's always a struggle, really, to get someone to do everything. So make sure you manage your manpower properly. So this guy does that, this guy does this. Give them a good schedule. Everything should be fine. The second thing that comes after that is the material and tool management. Now, because once you get more manpower, you need to consider more tools. And when you consider expansion, you need to consider more material. You have to think forward on what you need if you do this. If you get more people, you're going to need more tools. If you get 3 more guys, you need at least 2 more new spades or new hoe. So yeah, you have to think forward. And if you want to expand your land, you have to expand your project, you think of how much material you need. And more material means you need more manpower to handle it. So it's a really vicious cycle. But this is what we are going through right now. And it's still going well, I think. I mean, it looks a bit different now, but this is where we are at the moment. This was, I think, a few months back, but it's much better now. So yeah, these are some of the breakdowns. This is the breakdown of what I'm trying to teach you. First, there's these 6 steps. Firstly, get a team. Then you think about funding. Then you come up with your own model. You get that land. If your startup, requires land, office space, whatever, same thing. You need to get your expertise correct. You need to make sure that you have all your bases covered on your knowledge and whatever consultancy. You get consultants, I don't know. And lastly, you need to prepare for your design and your execution. And this is where we are at now. And this is the end game, the hard part. Now, next one we'll be talking more about challenges. So, oh boy, I'll tell you, running a garden sure has a lot of challenges, especially now at these trying times. So hopefully by sharing these challenges, you can consider them in your own startup and prepare for them, All right, so these are some of the things we ran into. Land acquisition, of course. Oh my God, it is so hard to get people, like actual dudes, to give their precious land to you, even though it's temporary and you don't really own it. It's so hard to get them to trust you enough to turn it into a garden and to manage it. They will ask a lot of requests. There'll be a lot of back and forths on and confirming a lot of things. But that's the first thing we ran through, is land acquisition, because yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust anybody with my land, and it took a lot of convincing. How we got through it is just mostly just really aggressive negotiations. No fist fights. I'm doing this, but we didn't really fight. It's just more of a good talk, and so a lot of proposals, a lot of memorandum of understandings until we get those lands. So that's one of the hardest things we had to do. Of course, everyone hates this. It's the main reason why, you know, we can't go out at night now. We can't chill at our favorite spots. We can't go out to the beach whenever we want. It's COVID-19, and it's not a good time to start a community garden during this COVID-19, because at this point of time, because of this, we are finding ourselves lack of volunteers. Well, it's not like people don't want to join. It's more like we are not actively looking, because I don't want to put anyone through that, through all that hassle of SOPs. I don't want to spread the epidemic further than it already is. I just do it in small pockets of volunteers every time, and it slows down the process by a lot. And because of the lack of volunteers and the lack of sharing, it's really it's very hard to maintain everyone's interests. So it's a big PR nightmare, and it's very hard to get the word out that we are doing this, because I also don't want so many people to come in. I don't want to endanger the Dyslexia Association. It's a bit of a nightmare, and it's still ongoing. But hopefully this pandemic goes over soon. And what I mean by lack of target participants is that because we intend to invite kids, especially the Dyslexia Association kids, to come over and help us, and we teach them, and they, help us out. But because of COVID-19, I don't want to endanger those kids. So I said, just stay at home first. Let's think about it after the whole thing is over. So everything's been pushed back. It's very stressful, but whatever. We're all going through this together. And of course, moving on, every farm has its agricultural issues. It's really annoying. I mean, I expected it, but I didn't expect it to be this annoying. So of course, there's going to be pests, not only bugs but weeds. Not only weeds, but some random animals disturbing this and that. You have to consider that if you're doing an agricultural project. I mean, right now, climate weather is pretty rainy, so it's still all right. But when the sun hits in a couple of months, we're going to have to think about water. We're going to think about shade and what crops to grow that likes this kind of climate. It's a real hassle. We always have to be on our toes. That's one of the big challenges. Crop management, in a way that we have to cycle our crops a lot. We after this one is done, we harvest it. What are we going to grow next? What are we going to grow next after that? If we grow this next to this plant, is it all right? Is it better if we grow this to this plant? It's always on top of my head. It's a big challenge to keep considering, and if we fail, it's a big hassle as well. So that's one of the challenges. These are the challenges you should consider if you're doing an agricultural type of startup project. We're going through it right now. I think we'll go through it forever. The next challenge is more general. It's more personal. It's more time management. It's about time management. Like, I'm a busy dude. I'm a full-time 9-to-5 guy. I have only time to do this on the weekends, and if it's urgent, I have to take some time off to go to the garden to work on some stuff. So it's very important to manage your time and to manage your team's time in a good schedule. Just that time management is really important, so you don't stress yourself out, you don't stress everyone else out. And the last one is every project's nightmare is funding. You have to always consider if you have enough money to do this, if you have enough money to expand, if you have enough money to cut down or invite more people, and if you don't, how are you going to get that money? You always have to think forward. and it's not easy, you know. You have to think of donation drives or to apply for more grants. Those are the few options, but basically, if you want to do something more, you have to think of funding, you have to think of manpower, and funding is one of the biggest challenges out there right now for us. So, some personal advice I can give you, from man to man, man to woman, whatever. Always keep an open mind when doing your project. Be adaptive to change, because if you don't, you get stressed out. I mean, it's good to follow a plan, but plans never always go your way. But if it doesn't, hey, it's fine. Adapt. Don't stress yourself out. Keep an open mind. Which brings us to our second one. Set big goals and small goals at the same time. Big goals is to keep you in the same direction that you want to go. So set that big goals. But small goals is to keep you motivated. So when you achieve those small goals, you feel a bit more motivated. You feel happier. Which brings us to the third one, to always celebrate all your achievements, no matter how small. Hey, your project didn't die this month. That's something to celebrate. Go have a good drink. Go listen to some music. Take the load off because your project didn't fail this month. It's always important to do this because you need motivation, your team needs motivation, and you don't want to burn each other out. So celebrate everything, doesn't matter how small. The fourth one is something I learned from Mr. Gus himself. Is always to appreciate and invest in people foremost. Everything else can wait. Invest in your team. You want to buy a new drill, or you want to send, I don't know, Yusuf to learn some new techniques, or you want to pay, your intern is asking for some money to do something. Invest in them first, because people can do more than a drill can sometimes, not all the time. Don't take my word for it, but I agree with what Mr. Gus said, so I always take this one to heart. The last one is a bit cynical. Always respect Murphy's Law, but don't obsess over it. If you guys don't know what Murphy's Law is, it's the law that anything, what is it? How does it go again? Anything bad that can happen will happen. That is Murphy's Law. So expect it. Expect that things will go bad, but don't always think about it. You know, if you think about it too much, it's probably gonna happen because you're stressing over it. So plan that the worst will happen, but don't keep worrying about it. You're probably worrying about nothing in the end. All right, we're approaching the end of my slide. So if you're keen to know more about what I'm doing, or if you're keen to know more about startups, whatever, there's my email. And if you want to join us or you want to collab, I'm not sure, in our gardening and in what we're doing in Sarawak Eco Warriors, Eco Gym Beach Cleaners. Also, my email is there, general use. Yeah, write it down or don't, up to you. And with that, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for paying attention. Let's hopefully work together sometimes. I'm very open. You're open. Yeah. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Mr. Yan, for a very insightful presentation. Actually, it was very detailed from A to Z. I hope that it's very beneficial for our participants. I hope they'll get some food for thoughts, And actually, there are questions that are coming up from the participants. They were one guy asked in Omaha permaculture, do they share the crops?
Do they share their crops with the community? Is it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, of course they do, because they don't grow the things themselves. They grow some stuff, but the rest of them are grown by the community themselves. So of course, whatever the community grows, the community keeps. But whatever they grow also, they keep a bit for their own. But the rest of them, they also give it away. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes.
See. Okay. So the next question is what's the security like? No one steals the crops, in the community gardening?
No one steals their crops. Okay, that I'm not sure, but I was there. When I was there, no, because their community is so tight knit. So even if you do steal their crops, the people will know, because again, it's a tight neighborhood, right? And then No.
So there is no like any fence, right?
No, usually there's no fence. Anybody can go in. But usually, nah, I don't think people will steal, some potatoes or some artichokes. It's just not worth it,
See. Okay, second question is third question. What are the best crops to grow in a community garden?
What is the best crops? Well,
Yeah.
okay. It's a more complicated question than you think, because in permaculture we don't grow one crop. It's always a few different crops together. The best crop, and depends on what you want to do. If you want a cash crop, let's say you want money, then you should plant fruits, like watermelons, bananas, all these all these what do you call it? Yeah, not really a cash crop, but fruiting crops. Those will get you some money real quick. And then, but you should also consider what you should grow next to it. Like usually, ginger grows next to, like growing ginger next to, I'm not sure. I think guava. I can't remember. It's beneficial for them, but there's no real good crop. It all depends on what you want to do, and how how you wanna do it. What kind of outcome do you want? I guess that question is a bit too general for me.
I see. Okay, the next question. So basically, what are the benefits of land owners who give away their lands for the community gardening?
Well, I wouldn't mention which land specifically, but for one, it's like she was nice enough just to ask for some fruits, That's it. But like for like Dyslexia Association, it's a mutual thing. It's a more like I teach you, I give you my land, but you have to teach my kids extracurricular activities, which is fine with us because that's part of our model. So we teach their children, we teach the dyslexia children to grow, to learn, giving them a set of skills, and we benefit by getting the land.
See. Okay, the next question. How does one turn a communal project into a profitable organization?
Okay. Well, it's quite hard to answer that one because our model is not really a profit-based model, but because usually, honestly speaking, communal and profitable usually don't go together. It's either usually a profit or a communal. You cannot really go together that much, because if you want to benefit the community, then by right nobody should be profiting that much except the community. If you want to profit, then you should probably either do it yourself or you do something called profit sharing. But if you do profit sharing, there's not much profit for it. It's just mostly spread out, and I don't think that's beneficial for you if you're doing it. It's beneficial for the community, sure, but is it really worth your time to do it? So if you want it to be beneficial, profitable, I don't think a communal project works for you that much.
It's more about the environmental care, right?
Environmental or communal care. If you want a profitable garden, then yeah, it's not really, communal or environmentally friendly anymore.
Okay, so the next question: how are communal gardens sustainable in the long term?
Well, sustainable. I assume you mean like how long it could make it last long. This one. So
I think so, yeah.
okay. So what we do in my model is that after everything is all steady, everyone is out here working, we give it back to the neighborhood, and they should sustain themselves, because hopefully by that time we would have instilled a sense of responsibility, a sense of ownership, like, hey, we are doing this, and it's our land, and hopefully from there they get enough of that sense to maintain the gardens themselves and keep it sustainable. Of course, our organization will be more like a supporting role. So if this, let's say this garden needs some help in sourcing fertilizer, yes, they can approach us for that. But we plan to make it sustainable by giving it back to the community. We don't run it anymore. You guys run it. Hopefully, it sustains that way.
All right. So the next question, where do the profits of your sales go to, if not to the people farming in the land?
I don't think we are profiting at all from this. Even if we do, it'd be a very, very small amount because, like I said, we are not planting so much. The plants are by the community, and the merchandise sales are also just to sustain our club and to sustain the garden itself. So I hope that answers your question. We won't be profiting so much, and the community will be the ones benefiting more from this.
Right. So the one person asking is, if I have a startup which is primarily focused on food shortage, how do I incorporate societal needs into it?
Well, I would think food shortage is already a societal need, right? I assume you're not talking about Malaysia because Malaysia, our food situation is not as dire yet. But I think it helps in a lot of ways because let's say a lot of people, if they start their own gardens in their backyard, right? Because also, we are hoping that they learn enough to do it themselves in their own land. If they don't have land, they can come to the community garden. So our hopes is also they apply this, they learn how to grow, and they grow it themselves in their backyard. If everyone does that, it should significantly reduce, food shortage and probably increase, the food supply in the long run, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope so. The next question, how do you overcome any stigma which is associated with a communal program? Because usually people perceive it as a charity program. How do you handle the PR?
Charity program. Well, I wasn't aware that there's such a stigma, but I guess in a way, the stigma is the challenge is trying to not say that it's a charity program. The challenge, I guess, is to try to maintain it as it is. It is a community-based program, and then if you put in the work, you reap the benefits. If you don't put in the work, you get almost nothing. So I guess in a way, to avoid the stigma is to not make it a charity program because it really is. It's not charity. Like, if you don't benefit from it, it's only because you didn't put in the effort. You know what I mean? The benefit goes to the person that actually does it.
Yeah. So the next question. So what was the driving force for establishing the gardening, community gardening? I think it's a personal question. Yeah. What was the driving force? Yeah.
Okay, what's the driving force? Well, okay, like personally, before we go for the US program, 2019, like you have to pitch a project that you want to do in your hometown. So me being a environmental consultant for my work, I go to a lot of villages. I go to a lot of rural areas, and I talk because doing social service is part of my work. So I talk to a lot of people in the villages, and then I find that food is always a hard topic for these guys because they're planting their own thing. Like right now, our cities, we still have abundance of food, but most of it is imported for some reason. We have so much land, but we're still importing food. And so my project was to improve the agricultural situation in urban Kuching. So because of that, they put me in Omaha permaculture, in which I learned how to do, based on what they do, community gardening. And so I thought, hey, this is a great idea. We have so much land in Kuching. We have so much untapped urban lots. Why not do something about it? Because it's just sitting there, right? So that's how I got the idea, and my driving force is that I really want to see people learn more about what they eat, because once you grow things, you know what you eat, and you know how hard it is to grow this, so they'll appreciate it more. That's kind of my driving force.
All right, great answer. The one guy asking about the gardens in Kuching, how do you keep them safe?
Well, for the Kuching one, I'm not that much afraid, because right now most of the ones I run, anyways, are fenced and are quite private. I mean, right now I'm keeping them private first, because as like I said, it's not really open to the public yet until all of this COVID nonsense is over. So in the future, when it's open, I guess it's a half-half. I mean, there's going to be barriers. For Kuching, I put barriers. If I was in the US, I'm not going to put barriers, because for some reason, people just don't really rob each other in their neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
So in Kuching, I'll probably be half-half. There will be a trust factor there, but there'll also be certain barriers. There's probably going to be a gate and things like that. So yeah.
Like the question for myself is actually, how often do you maintain the gardens in Kuching?
There's some of the team members that go on different days. I personally go on a Saturday because I work, but sometimes when there's like, oh, it's harvesting day, I have to take some time off, and I go there and maintain it myself, you know. So like I said, manpower management, you have to manage your schedules. But when the time comes, I hope that the own community will take care of their own land. I don't have to go that much, you know. So right now, I'll have to go every week. Maybe I would say twice a week or 3 times a week. But in the future, hopefully, they do it themselves. Yeah.
So your gardens are located in downtown, right, in Kuching?
Yeah. I'll probably share it in the near future, but right now, I'm just gonna keep it a bit on the quiet for. If you want to know, I think it's better if you drop me an email so I can slip you in. But most of it is in downtown, because I do target city folk. But I have one outside at Batukawa area. Yeah.
All right. So the one guy is asking, how do you get sponsors for your projects? For I think he means for this community gardening.
Well, sponsors. Like I said, our main money comes from grants right now. That's like applying for grants. If you don't know what grants is, let me explain a bit. Like, you write to an organization that usually wants to give money for certain projects to mutually benefit each other. If you find out about some of these programs, these grant programs, you write in, you pitch in your project, you try your best, and then if you're successful, they'll give you a call and they'll give you money, and strictly for that project only. That's our main money maker right now, I think. Of course, you can also set up donation drives or like merchandise sales, like what we do more often than grants, because grants only comes like maybe once a year or twice a year at most, and you might not get it at all. So it's not really a confirmed thing. But one thing is grants, the other thing is donation drives and merchandise sales.
Yeah, I think like it's getting the sponsors is more about determination, how badly you want the sponsors sponsor you, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and like another question is, are there any industrial applications of communal gardens?
Industrial, no, it's totally different. When you talk about industrial, I assume you mean large scales, and it's pretty hard to do that, because number one, you are depending on the charity of people to work for free, and then if they're not benefiting, why would they do it? So if you're talking about industrial, I don't think it will work, because then you'll be talking about salaries, and when salaries come to play, it's not really communal anymore. It's more corporate. Yeah.
Yeah. Like so far, no more questions, guys. If you have any question, you can speak up or just write in the box chat.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. Hey, my name is Faris. I think you know me. My question is, aside from yourself, and since day one till now, who do you think appreciates this project, and the work that you do?
Appreciate, is it?
Yeah, like you do this beautiful garden, you have all these nice fruits growing out of it, who do you think firstly does appreciate it and secondly ought to appreciate it a bit more?
Well, right now, honestly, the one that's really running is the Dyslexia Association ones, and they're appreciate. I hope they're appreciating it because for once they are the ones benefiting from all the crops that's there, and at the same time, their kids in the future lah, right? I mean, right now no, but in the future, they get to have some fun in the soil, outside. I mean, I would love it. But in the future, when all of this is running perfectly, I hope that the community and um, whoever is planting on that lot, whoever is using that lot, will will appreciate it from the stuff they eat, because it's more than a garden to me. It's more like a community center. I will put a picnic table on there, as and also there are other things to do there, such as I don't know, barbecue pits. Those are all in the works, and hopefully the community will be appreciative of it. Right now, no, I can say not yet, but hopefully the community does surrounding them. Yeah.
All right. So, like, guys, any other questions? You can drop your questions in the chat box. Speak up if you want. So, like, how do people can join to your what do you call it? To your group or team?
Oh, if you want to join my team, I can hit you up. Hold on, let me show you the slides. You can hold on, it's here somewhere. Give me I see these links. These are you can drop us a message on Facebook, or you can email me directly. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Actually, it's not so formal. And if there's any activities or events that we're doing, we'll just let you know. We email blast every time. We have a lot of other events, not only community gardens. We do beach cleanings. We do tons of other stuff. So, yeah, just check us out at these two links or my direct email. I don't mind.
Don't worry, guys. We'll share the details of Mr. Yan in a WhatsApp group. So don't fret. So, guys, any other questions? If not, actually, we can wrap up and finish the talk, as it's a 1 hour talk today. Any other questions, guys? I think no questions are emerging. Okay, so one guy is asking, how can other people in the community take over when you're planting in the grounds of people who are not living there?
No, I mean usually. So this will all be settled in this negotiating part. They will know, they will be aware what's happening. The landowner will know what's happening, and yeah, so they have to know, and they have to agree. And if they don't agree, ask them why and try to negotiate on how you can get around it. So it's more to how you discuss. I mean, usually they are fine with it if you tell them that as soon as if the landowner wants this thing gone, it will be gone, and then your participants should know that as well, because in the end you're at the mercy of the landowner as well. But these things have to be done properly via black and white, and properly via a real negotiation session, a real discussion, a real talk. So all of this has to be done carefully. That's it.
Let's see. Let me check the questions. No more questions, actually. So I think we can finish the talk tonight. So Mr. Yan, thank you for coming and sharing your experience and talking about the community gardening. I hope your project will success in the future. All your plans will be successful. So thank you for everyone who joined our third talk today. Yeah, like like we had your third guest in our Hult Prize Swinburne program. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll drop all the details of Mr. Yan to the WhatsApp group. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Yan.